We invested in the city, we invested in the community, and we encouraged best business to come, and they came. And you can see the fruits of our labor now for the last 12 years. It's just incredible. So when I walked downtown, I said, you know what? I'm part of this.
Right, that's your legacy.
It's a great feeling.
Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santa Ines, the first person of color elected to the Council of the City of Bellflower. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you've been doing this for 12 years now. Imagine that. Tell us about your immigrant journey.
I'm one of the youngest of 8 siblings, and the last 3 came to the U.S. together.
Okay.
3 boys. We flew together to the U.S. And when we were in college, we were already talking about coming to the U.S. That's been our dream, to come here to make a better life. So we came together. We ended up in Chicago, where my mom used to live. And unfortunately, as a Filipino, we were raised in the tropics, and so we're not used to that kind of weather. So I said to myself, I'll just work here for 1 year, get the experience, and after that, move to California.
Okay, my first question was, which college did you go to? And were you already working in the Philippines when you moved here?
I went to the Philippine School of Business Administration, major in accounting, and I was working for City of Bellflower for 4 years already. And then when my petition came, we left right away.
And did you get a job as an accountant right away here?
Yes, that was my first job in Chicago. I worked for the Federal Reserve Bank as a senior auditor.
Okay.
So thanks to my experience with City of Bellflower, they recognized my experience, and it was my gateway to higher positions in the U.S.
You know, you're quite lucky because a lot of people, especially these days now, they don't qualify for positions right away because a lot of the firms now and companies, they require what they call local experience.
Mm-hmm. I have to deal with that also because when I applied for jobs, it's kind of ironic. They said, well, you don't have a local experience. My question to myself is, how can I get a local experience if no one will give it to me?
Right.
But fortunately, when I applied for the Federal Reserve Bank, the audit manager had an experience with auditing a client of theirs who is also being audited by City of Bellflower.
Right.
So he knows the quality of work that I did. Mm-hmm. So based on that, he hired me. After that, then we moved to Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we settled here. Coming to the U.S., there's also a sacrifice. It's just basically a golden opportunity.
Right.
There's a lot of challenges. If you look at the sacrifice that we kind of entail in the U.S., it's really up to us to really focus on what we really want in life. Mm-hmm. It's always like a give and take.
Right.
You cannot give everything that you want. I stayed focused on my goal. My goal is to have a better life, to have a better profession, and contribute to my community.
You led a very private life as a CPA, continuing on in LA, raised a family, but now you're a public servant and has been for 12 years. What pushed you to go out?
I guess it's in my blood. When I was in the Philippines, my dad was a public servant also in San Jose, Nueva Ecija, and he was a council member. And I can remember myself campaigning with him at 9 years old. I would go up the stage and introduce my dad as the next mayor of San Jose.
Oh, wow.
At 9 years old.
Right.
And so that kind of instilled in myself the public service sentiment of my dad.
When did you decide that it was time, like 12 years ago?
I became active first in my local community. The former mayor of Bellflower, Dorothy King, asked me if I can help run her campaign way back in 2000, I believe in 2001. Mm-hmm. And I joined her campaign, and then later on she retired.
Right.
So after that, in 2011, I decided, yes, it's time for me to run for public office.
Right.
What I love in public service here in the U.S., especially at the council level, is that we're doing it for the sake of the community. We want to give back to the community.
They say you can't be what you can't see. And now you're one of our young Filipinos and Filipino Americans are seeing a public servant, a Filipino public servant in Sonny Santa Ines. Like, how does that make you feel?
I feel honored. Yeah. I really feel honored because when I ran in 2011, much to my surprise, there were 7 candidates for 3 seats, for open seats, and I was the top vote getter.
Wow.
Back then. So
right.
One of my friends who is Caucasian called me is known in the community. He said, Sonny, tonight you made history. I said, what? What history did I make? He said, you're the first non-white ever elected. Really? I didn't even know that.
Wow.
You know, I didn't even, I wasn't even paying attention to that.
What have you contributed to the city in the last 12 years?
The main thing here is for the City Council to work together for the betterment of the community. And it's what we did. We invested in the city, we invested in the community, and we encouraged best business to come. And they came. And you can see the fruits of our labor now for the last 12 years. It's just incredible. So when I walked downtown, I said, you know what? I'm part of this.
Right, that's your legacy.
It's a great feeling.
What would you say to those who maybe, Filipinos were not very engaged in the community, as engaged as like being in public service? We're not known to be civic-minded. Or maybe times are changing now, but you were one of the trailblazers from 10 years ago or 12 years ago. What would you say to the parents out there who have kids who maybe show some inclination in public service? Yeah,
there's so many opportunities to be in public service. You don't need to be a public official. I would suggest to them to start with, let's say, the PTA. Start with the school site council. Start with the service club, because we have so many service clubs. We have the Kiwanis, the Lions, the Rotary Club. Start there and get a sense of what community service is all about. You can also be active in churches, doing the food pantry, food drives and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities to give back to the community. And I would say start with that and just follow your passion. If your passion is to really serve public, then go for it later on.
So why do you do what you do?
It's my passion to give back to the community, because I ask myself the question, if not us, who's going to do it? And that's why I love the government in the U.S., because we have a lot of people who are passionate to give back to the community, to serve the community, to make the lives better.